All right. Well, welcome everybody. This is one of two info sessions that we're going to do about the GEARE program this fall semester. We're really excited to have the opportunity to be here. I have some of actually our GEARE alum, Catherine and Taka, we may see at the top of the screen. They're going to have an opportunity to kind of share some of their experiences and tell you a little bit about what they're doing now. Also, I might have Lucy introduce herself. She's a current GEARE student.
Hi, everyone. I'm currently a sophomore studying materials engineering, and right now I am serving as marketing director on the GEARE executive board.
And then I'll have Nick Morey introduce himself as well.
Hi guys, my name is Nick Morey. I'm a junior studying industrial engineering, and I am currently serving as the Vice President of External Affairs for GEARE.
Yeah, so both Nick and Lucy, we have a student organization that's part of the GEARE program as well, and so our student organization is here to help us advance the cause of the program, help us raise funds, help us connect with companies, help students get through the program as well. And so throughout the presentation, if you have questions you want to have answered, I would suggest that you use the chat below. You can go ahead and ask your questions. Lucy and Nick will kind of monitor those. If we're at a point where we can stop and answer those questions, we will. Otherwise, we may wait till the end on some of them. So I'm going to start by sharing my screen here. And here we go. So the GEARE program, this is the Global Engineering Alliance for Research and Education. This is Purdue's premier global engineering training program and the premier global engineering training program in the entire world. It is a very unique program. Not many other universities have opportunities like this. The program, we founded this program back in 2003, so we're about 17 years old. We started it with just industry partners in Germany and China, but since we've expanded it to several countries around the world, including several different languages as well. As you can see, we have about 565 alums of the program since 2003. And those alums, you'll find out, are working all over the world in different types of organizations. The participants in this program will get a minor in global engineering studies. We have currently about 418 students participating. Students in the program are generally pretty high achieving students. The average GPA is 3.6. So the program has the following requirements. So there's a minimum GPA requirement of 3.0. That requirement is for a student to maintain throughout the program. If you finish this first semester at Purdue, you will, with a 3.0 or higher, you will be invited to the GEARE call-out, which happens during the spring, and we'll give you detailed information about how to apply for the program at that point. Generally speaking, students enroll in the program during their first year or maybe the first semester of sophomore year. I think it's advantageous to enroll your first year and to apply. So the application timeline will occur in February. For the program, we require students to meet during their sophomore year at least 5 times, though we have different opportunities for students to do professional training during that time. So it's professional skills training or even intercultural training. So there's opportunities to kind of learn a little bit more about the places where you may go, to learn a little bit more about the opportunities, and to hopefully also build your resume and connect with some of the partners that we have in the program. The program requires you to do at least 1 domestic and 1 international internship/research experience. The domestic research experience generally happens the semester after your sophomore year, And the international experience generally happens in combination with a semester of study abroad that happens during the junior year. We try pretty hard to connect students with global companies for which you might have opportunities to work with that company both in the US and overseas. However, there's a lot of different options. You can work with one company here and in a different company overseas. There's foreign language requirement in the program. So the foreign language that is required is a total of 12 credit hours, or the equivalent of 12 credits. And that needs to be completed prior to the second semester of your junior year. Second semester of the junior year is generally when students will start their international experience. We do want that foreign language, all of the credits to be in the same language. If you have studied foreign language before, say you've done like AP foreign languages and you get credits already, that will apply towards this. If say you've already, say you've got an AP score of a 5, for example, on a test that would give you 12 credits at Purdue already, we would just then, to make sure that, to verify that, we would have you would just need to take one course in order to meet the minimum language requirement. But of course, the further you can go in a foreign language, the more successful I think that you will be in the program. So, and in general, if you can get to the 300 levels of the language, there are some interesting foreign language options for, say, Spanish for engineering or German for engineering, which can really help you with the program and future opportunities. The program includes 3 sort of cultural orientation seminars. There is one that you take the semester prior to going abroad, where we try to prepare you for the international experience in the country where you're going to be going. There's one that you take while you're abroad, which helps you maximize your experience. And then one you take when you get back, which helps you continue that reflection. Additionally, when you get back from overseas, you become a mentor of the students who are preparing to go overseas. So there's a nice aspect of a mentor connection between students in the program. These courses are utilized to help you increase your global competency. Global competency is sort of a measure of how well you work with people who are different than you, how well you can adapt to different situations, how you can lead a team of diverse thinkers. And so these orientations that we have in the program, actually, we've been found that the GEARE program helps students grow 3 times more than your average global experience. So this is a very impactful program that we have. The program requires study abroad, and that's at least a semester of study abroad. With your study abroad in your international internship, you will spend a minimum of 8 months overseas. Sometimes that may be longer. Students sometimes take longer term internships abroad. So they may be abroad for an entire year, or, as Taka may tell you, potentially even longer than that. So it is a significant international experience. We have global design team experiences. So these are opportunities for you to work on a global project. There's multiple ways that you can go through that type of opportunity. We are actually building a lot of really cool remote opportunities that you can connect with students from our partner institutes, where you can work on a engineering project. And then at the end, there's a poster presentation that sort of is a capstone of the program. You can see some of our corporate partners. So we have a lot of companies that are part of the program. These are some of them. Actually, I think I think I potentially skipped a page, but the program, if we go back to these requirements, I'll tell you how it kind of works. So once you're in, you have sophomore meetings during your sophomore year. During your sophomore year is also a time frame where you're studying foreign language in the program. The domestic internship usually happens the summer after the sophomore year, and the international internship happens sort of in combination with the study abroad program. The Global Design Team project is something that actually can be done at any time during the program once you're in it. However, a lot of students do this during their senior year. I mentioned the corporate sponsors, and this kind of gives you maybe more of a framework for how it works. This is an example of sort of what our traditional model of the program would look like with one of the companies that we work with, American Axle. They have operations in Detroit, also in Mexico. Also, they send students to Germany and other places as well. So you can see here, you're doing your sort of engineering. This is sort of the entry point, second semester freshman year. You could also enter here your first semester of sophomore year. I think it's more advantageous for students to enter sooner rather than later. For students, there's an optional opportunity. We try to tell students in the program that we would like them to kind of bolster the resume. So there's a lot of things that you can do during the summer. One of the options might be study abroad. In this scenario, you would be studying Spanish, going to Mexico, and so potentially doing a study abroad in a Spanish-speaking country would work. The other thing I'd point out is the foreign language. If you've not taken any foreign language, any of the sort of Western languages, Spanish, French, Portuguese, those are 3-credit courses, and so you need to take 4 of those courses prior to going abroad your junior year. So if you haven't taken any foreign language, you would start taking that language next semester, which is an important reason why we're here doing the info session now for those who want to get involved in the program, because you may have to start doing something for the program already next semester. If as I mentioned, if you've already taken foreign language, you might be able to start at a higher level, and so that can be a variant for you. You see the internship generally happening here in the summer after your second year. Your study abroad is generally happening here first semester or second semester of junior year during the spring, and then an international internship possibly during the summer. You come back and you take the 497 in the fall, and you may take a global design team course during the spring of your senior year, although the global design could fit anywhere in here. This is the traditional plan that you would graduate in a 4-year time period. There's a lot of other versions of this. You could integrate a co-op. So Purdue has like a 3-session co-op program where you can connect with a company for 3 rotations, and maybe you would do 1 rotation here, 1 rotation abroad, and then another rotation back in the US, and you might have an additional semester. So you might do, like Catherine might tell you, you might do a longer term internship. She studied in Spain here and then did internship from the summer into the fall. That pushed back her graduation one semester. However, it was longer term work experience, which was valuable. So there's a lot of different options for plans of study. This gives you an understanding of the languages that you could study as part of the GEARE program. So every language on here are languages that are taught at Purdue. The ones in white are languages that we right now don't really recommend for the GEARE program because we really don't have study abroad options in engineering in places that would coincide with these languages. So we really like to try to get students to study a language and have them study abroad in a place that corresponds with their foreign language. So we have, if you're studying Chinese, China and Taiwan may be options, potentially even Hong Kong as an option there, and maybe even Singapore, where English is the official language, but Chinese is a strong second language there. If you're studying French, you'll go to France. If you're studying Germany and Switzerland are options. Korean, South Korea is the option. Japanese, you have Japan. Spanish, you have options of Spain, Mexico, Colombia, or Ecuador. Italy for Italian, and Brazil for Portuguese. So those are the destinations. And in some examples, while we have good fits in a lot of academic majors. There are some majors who may not have a study abroad location in the destination that corresponds with your language. And so in those cases, we might have some other options to study in Singapore, Hong Kong, Sweden, UK, Denmark, or potentially Ireland. And that's kind of based upon what your major might be and what your needs are. And that's a conversation we would have once you were in the program. Financial implications of our program. We try pretty hard to make sure that GEARE is a cost neutral program. There is, when you're doing your internships, those are academic. You register for a course, you have to do work reports, get supervisor evaluations, and it's to make sure that you can really get a good experience out of that internship or research experience. There is a flat rate for the course, which is $400. However, you will receive compensation when you're doing your domestic internship. Your international internship, our goal is to help you get compensated, something that helps you basically covers your cost of living while you're overseas. Outside of the US, internships really aren't paid very well. In fact, the US is really the only place in the world that pays well for engineering internships. But we're going to work to make sure that you're getting compensated in a way that can cover your cost of living. We do offer global living assistance grants through our office, so we have scholarships for GEARE students. So when you go abroad and maybe the compensation for that internship is not very good, we can help you if the compensation is not covering all of your cost of living for that internship overseas. When you do your study abroad, you will go on an exchange program. So you'll pay your tuition and fees to Purdue like you normally do. And then you pay your cost of room and board in the country where you are abroad. In general, that country that you are overseas in will cost less than living on campus at Purdue. So in most cases, the cost of living is less than here. However, there are opportunities for scholarships. There is, if you fill out FAFSA, depending on what your financial need is, you can get anywhere between $2,000 and $5,000 for a semester of study abroad. And then all students in the GEARE program right now are eligible for $2,000 grant because you will take an intercultural training course while you're abroad. So completion of that course will get you a $2,000 grant. Eligibility and deadlines for the GEARE program. So as I already mentioned, 3.0 GPA is the requirement. You have to attain 12 credits of a foreign language prior to your international internship or study abroad experience, which happens during the second semester of junior year. There are GEARE coordinators in each discipline of the GEARE program. So if you're going to plan to go into mechanical engineering or electrical engineering, your applications will be sent to a coordinator there. Some of those coordinators may have you do an interview for the program. And there are 2 rounds of our application cycles. So as a first-year student, I recommend that if you're interested in this program, you apply in February. We'll open up that application cycle on February 1st. Next semester, for those who are eligible, we'll give you details on how you can apply in our system. The overall deadline is February 28th. If you can't apply this year, you have a second chance to enter the program, which is the first semester of your sophomore year. And the application deadline for that ends up being September 27th, with application system opening on September 1st. So with that gives us some information. I wonder if Nick or Lucy, if you guys have been monitoring the chat, if you think that there's any questions that we might need to address before we move on and hear from some of our program alums.
So far, there's been quite a few questions. Let's see, some of them that I couldn't personally answer yet. If you're wondering what university, or what discipline partners with which universities and where to go if you're studying this language, there's a lot of information found on our GEARE website, which is purduegear.org. Are scholarships for GEARE only for are scholarships for GEARE only for US citizens? Is one question that I wasn't.
So there is the Purdue Move Scholarship, which is a scholarship that's tied to the financial aid system. So unfortunately, that $2,000 to $5,000 scholarship, if you're an international student, you're not eligible because you can't fill out FAFSA. However, the $2,000 grant for the intercultural training is international students are eligible for.
Okay. Do we have any partner universities in Korea that you know of?
The partner in Korea is Yonsei University. So yeah, also on our OPP website, opp.purdue.edu, you can also find GEARE, and we actually have it put out by academic discipline, so it gives you a good understanding of what universities there are as well. And then our student ambassadors website, which is purduegear.org, also has that information, so you can get a good understanding of some of the study abroad destinations.
Okay, someone else wants to know, is it possible to have experiences abroad in 2 different countries if they have the language credits that are already required?
It is. Some students might be able to study abroad in one country and do an internship in another country. We've also had some students do internships in multiple countries. It just kind of depends on some things. There are some challenges with visas and work authorizations that we probably have to speak more specifically to.
Gotcha. All right, and someone else wants to know, is the GEARE application binding, or can they change their mind if they're accepted and then deny the offer later?
Yeah, if you get accepted into GEARE and you drop out or you choose not to do the program, you can. When we see the applications, though, we do look at this. There's an essay in the application, and we do want to make sure that students are committed to the program. So that is something that we're looking at.
All right. Let's see. If you do not get into into GEARE the first time around, can you apply a second time your sophomore year?
Yes.
All right, and then I think, this one says, how many students are typically accepted per year?
That depends. It kind of depends on the majors and things like this. Right now, we have capacity. We want about 10% of each engineering discipline into the program. Some disciplines, there's a greater amount of capacity than others, but that's kind of rolling. On average, I think last year we accepted about 130 students in total.
All right. Someone else wants to know, if one has an internship already in place for the summer of 2021, can the short-term study abroad trip be moved to a Maymester or another semester?
Well, the short-term study abroad trip is not a binding option, or not a requirement of the program. It's sort of an option for students to do. We recommend that students might take a look at doing that to help them. But if you're already doing an internship this summer, then you already are doing something pretty useful. So you don't necessarily need to participate. But you could do, yes, Maymester if there was one that was interesting to you, or you could do it at another time if you wanted to do a short-term trip. But that's not a requirement of the program.
Okay, and then one more question: do you know of any study abroad opportunities in Bolivia, off the top of your head?
I don't know. I've been to Bolivia myself once, but we don't have a university partner there. But there might be some opportunities for internship or research at the time the student wants to go. We're always building connections, so we can certainly look into something like that.
All right, and that's all the questions for now. So.
All right, so I'll turn it over to Taka, and Taka, tell people a little bit about your experience, what you think that you got out of the program, and maybe a little bit about what you're doing now.
Sure. Thanks for this opportunity, Joe. Appreciate it. Yeah, so as Joe mentioned, my name is Taka, everyone. Before I get into anything, I just wanted to say congrats, welcome to Purdue. And I'm very happy and I appreciate your guys' time to take the time to really join today's session. You guys are off to a great start, already interested in such an amazing program. So yeah, keep being proactive and again, welcome to Purdue. So just a little bit about myself. I graduated from Purdue this May from Purdue in aerospace engineering. And I joined GEARE my, I think, freshman year? Yeah, no, sophomore year. So I was in the late batch. But during my time at GEARE, I studied German, took 12 credits, and I did basically about 22 months of international experience. So my 4-year original plan became a 5-year program at Purdue, mainly because I decided to take 1 year off to do an internship abroad. So I studied after my summer of my sophomore year. I did a summer research internship in Germany in Braunschweig at TU Braunschweig in their Fluid Mechanics Institute, working on some CFD, intro to CFD basically for 3 months. And then during my second semester of junior year, I went to University of Bristol in the UK. I did take German as my language, but because I went to Germany already after my sophomore year, I decided I wanted to branch out. So I chose the UK as my option. And right after I finished my semester at University of Bristol in the UK, I did a 1-year-long internship at Airbus. 10 months was spent in the UK branch, and then I did an internal transfer to the German office within Airbus. So that's sort of the very high level, let's say, experience that I've had with GEARE. And after I graduated this May, I had the summer off. So I decided to do a postgraduate internship at Tesla, fully remote for 3 months. So that was a very interesting experience. I was working as a global supply analyst in their supply chain organization. And now I'm currently calling from London. I started my master's in management at London Business School. It's a 1-year program, so I'll graduate when you guys are just about to start your sophomore year, basically. So that's a little bit about myself. What did I get out of GEARE? I got a bunch out of GEARE, and I really hope that all, around 80 people of you guys I strongly encourage you to apply to the program, talk to different people. The biggest thing that I personally got out of the program was I developed from personally as a person and as a professional. It sounds very cliched, but over the years, you have to, through GEARE, you have to learn a new language. You have to go abroad, a place where you've never been, meet random people, make new friends somehow, step out of your comfort zone, work in a country where they speak a completely foreign language that you don't. And, over time, 4 years is going to go by very quickly. But through GEARE, I was able to sort of really expand on my core hard and soft skills as a professional. And at the same time, being part of GEARE, you're surrounded by a bunch of talented individuals, and you're part of a very diverse talent pool. So you're going to make lifelong friends within the program once you join. For example, Nick, who's the VP of the student org right now at GEARE, I got very close to him since we're on the board, and through just a bunch of random things. Yeah, you make lifelong friends through GEARE. So with that being said, again, I highly encourage you talk to some of the GEARE peeps before you make your decision. and I'm very excited for you guys, really. So that's it from my side, Joe.
Taka, how's studies going in London?
It's been 3 weeks, and I think a lot of you guys have in-person classes. I think Mitch did an amazing job. Right now, we just started doing hybrid learning, so half of us are at home chiming in online, and half of us get to go in person to attend the lectures. Overall, it's been good. It's a little bit weird trying to make friends online. So I'm kind of getting used to that, but everything's, a new experience, new place as well. London is an amazing city, and I'm enjoying it. Yeah.
What happened? What are you planning on doing when you're done?
Good question. I am pretty much open to any opportunities, really. I'm sort of starting to look into maybe consulting as a career, as well as maybe business development-ish on the commercial side. Maybe back at Airbus if they have positions open. Potentially going back to become an engineer again. But really, I'm open to any opportunities right now. I think right now I'm focusing on doing my networking, expanding my network within London Business School, because there's a bunch of amazing people out here. So
great. Thanks, Taka. We'll come back with questions I'm sure that maybe some of the students have. So
Sure.
we'll move on, and now I introduce Catherine Schauer.
Hey, yeah, like Jeff said, I'm Catherine Schauer. I am currently not in the mountains. I'm currently on the West Coast in Oregon. I'm working full-time at HP right now, repping the ship here. But I'm just like you guys. I'm currently 100% virtual personally for my work. So I get where everybody is right now. I'm in the same trying to figure out the virtual lifestyle for the unknown future at this point. But I studied mechanical engineering at Purdue. I graduated last December, so December of 2019, with the degree in mechanical engineering. I completed my very first internship at Alsan Transmission, and that was actually my first internship, so it was a domestic internship, so that satisfied the domestic requirement, and then I ended up studying at UC3M in Madrid. So Spanish is the language that I did speak and that I studied in high school, and then I also finished that credit requirement at Purdue. So I did go to Madrid to complete that study abroad requirement. It was kind of funny because as I moved to Madrid, I didn't know if I would be coming back at the end of the semester or if I would be coming back at the end of the year, because we were still putting together that international internship piece, which ended up working out. So at the end of my study abroad in Madrid, I actually got on a train and I moved straight to Barcelona, where for the next 6 months I started working at HP there at their Barcelona site, which was an incredible experience. I spent the work week full-time working within the writing systems team, working on print diagnostics, and working with incredible people and developing my cross-cultural skills, like being able to actually apply kind of like Joe had mentioned, that there are a lot of orientations and seminars that you take, so it was really great being able to actually apply that in a real-world setting. And then on the weekends, I spent traveling all over Europe. So that's how I spent 6 months, and it was an incredible experience. And because of that experience, I was able to actually make connections with other HP hiring managers in the United States, so that I did actually end up having an extra summer due to the 6-month-long internship that I did in Barcelona. It pushed my graduation to the next fall. So I had one more summer to fill. So I was able to complete one more summer internship experience at HP in Corvallis, Oregon, which is where I currently still am today. They hired me back full time, and that is currently where I am. Let's see. What I got out of the program, I'm going to be kind of restating a little bit of what Taka said, but I think a lot of what he said is really just hit the nail on the head there, that the interpersonal skills that I developed have directly translated into my personal life and my professional life equally. And it has been incredible. I think that how this program has been able to really facilitate those and made me a lot more comfortable going into situations that are maybe more unknown, and then entering into certain situations, also just understanding exactly what it is that where I come from, recognizing my own biases, and when I enter into these conversations or these cross-cultural work groups, I'm able to understand where I'm coming from, and because of that, I know my own personal bias, and I know how to interact with other people and be more open to different styles of thinking and different styles of communication. And then another thing that I would like to mention is GEARE is an incredible resource for your own professional development. Joe personally has a ton of connections with a lot of industry partners, and it was because of those connections that Joe has and that the GEARE program has with a lot of these corporations, the networking within the GEARE organization. It is like a smaller organization than maybe other organizations on campus, but it is a unique organization, and the skills that you develop, and companies do recognize that. And the companies that do come to GEARE for the GEARE career fairs, they know exactly what that is, and they're there because they want students that fit that background. And then if you go to a career fair and you have GEARE on your resume, people would ask me, recruiters at career fairs were like, what is this? Tell me about it, because they hadn't heard of it before. And it's always a conversation that they want to have, and it always sparks their interest. So it's great on your resume, and it was really great for networking.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's everything that you had talked about, Joe. I think I hit all the points.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit more about how do you think the decision to extend for a little bit longer? I know a lot of people want to finish in 4 years, and about 50% of our GEARE students do finish in 4 years, but another 50% might take a little bit longer because they do longer term work experiences. So, tell me a little bit more about your decision to do that.
Right, yeah. That was definitely, I knew going in that I was going to be trying to pursue that Barcelona 6-month internship, and I will admit that my very first hesitation was the fact that it was 6 months. I had it in my head. I think that, everyone, when they go through college, you're locked into that, you got to graduate in 4 years, you got to get out and then start a job or start grad school. There's like a very specific track that we kind of all get programmed into. And I was definitely in that same mentality, and I think that's where a lot of the fear was coming from. And also, I mean, it is a reality. I did push back my graduation, so some of my friends did graduate before me, but because of people that I met in the program, was a great community of students that did very similar extended work experiences, and everyone is kind of on their own timeline. And within the GEARE program specifically, it became clear to me that you don't necessarily have to follow that I'm out in 4 years path, and everyone can kind of do what they need to do to follow their own specific unique career path through this program. So ultimately, it was definitely something I was afraid of going into, but I would 100% do it again, and I would recommend other people to do it as well. Just the opportunity. I mean, I was able to live in Spain for an entire year of my life, and not a lot of people can say that. And from my own personal development, language development standpoint, and then just being in a position for an entire 6 months, you can get so much more in depth, and you can achieve so much more within your work team than you can, I think, within that just 3 months. So, I mean, all across the board, I would really recommend it.
Awesome. So I think, let's see, we have
Catherine wants to know in the chat if you were already fluent, or if you weren't, was it hard to integrate yourself into the workforce / study abroad?
I think fluent is a very strong word. I wouldn't even classify myself as fluent today. Maybe I just put myself to a really high standard, but I was able to communicate in a semi-professional way. And I studied Spanish in high school all the way up until like AP Spanish, and then I took a year off, and then at Purdue I picked back up again. And there actually are conversation tables that I participated in unofficially and officially through the ME program. They actually have weekly conversation tables that you can do to just go in and practice your Spanish. So I didn't enter into the work experience being fluent. And then one thing that is really great about working for an American global company, or not great, depending on how you look at it, is that at least with HP, there is a requirement that every employee can speak English. So there were some work situations where it was 100% English because it was the quickest way to get information across. There were other situations where it was kind of a mix of English and Spanish. So from my own personal experience, not being 100% fluent in Spanish wasn't a barrier for me. I do wish that I had a stronger grasp of Spanish going into that, because I think I would have used it more in the professional setting, and I would have grown a lot more from that. And I do know personally students that I met who are in the program did use the language that they had studied a lot while they were in their professional environment. So it definitely varies student to student. I personally didn't use Spanish as much in the workplace as others, but I wish that I had prepared myself more so that I could have.
Taka, what did you think about your time in Germany and in your grasp of German language?
Yeah, I think being thrown in, it was hard, I'm not gonna lie. Being thrown into a completely German-speaking environment, I was the only, let's say, international employee in the office, so all the meetings were in German. Definitely the 12 credits I took was useful, but I would say languages in real life is a little bit different. So what I personally did was, exactly, Catherine. During the meetings, everything would be in German, but I would have my, aerospace engineering notes on the left-hand side, and then on the right-hand side, I would have my German notebook with my small dictionary. So that kind of, I didn't understand everything, obviously, but it showed that I was at least trying to understand, and that helped me work very well with my colleagues in general. So all in all, it was hard, but yeah, I think it's the only way you can really learn the language.
Mm-hmm. Lucy, do we have more questions?
There was a couple. Someone wants to know, is it possible for them to get an internship their freshman year and then do their study abroad semester their sophomore year?
It is definitely possible to do an internship after the freshman year and count it as like the domestic internship requirement. So if you get into GEARE your freshman year and let us know about the internship, you could count that. But doing study abroad sophomore year, I think I've had one student do that. It's a little bit complicated because usually the courses that are offered in the destinations don't necessarily work during the sophomore year. Most of our study abroad partnerships are kind of put together in terms of engineering with the thought that the students will study abroad junior year, and that is most of the courses that we're looking at. And a lot of times that junior year is also open for a little bit more of the technical electives, because in your sophomore year you're taking a lot more of the core courses, and those typically tend to be a little bit harder to find overseas to make them transferable.
All right, and then someone else wants to know if the SURF program counts as a domestic internship.
Yeah, if you complete SURF, that would as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Also, an announcement for everyone. The attendance code is going to be uploaded soon, or is already uploaded, so keep an eye out for that.
Sorry, yeah, so actually I'm going to pull up right now. Is that okay?
Yep.
So the students can stay after that if they want to ask more questions. Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm sharing right now. Can you see?
Yeah.
So these are the instructions for those who have the Android phone. They needed to actually download an app like the QR code reader. And then only after that they can scan the code. But for those who use iPhone, they can directly do that from their camera. So this is the code, the QR code. Mm-hmm. And as they do that, you guys can go ahead and keep going with the presentation.
Okay. I see another question about being an international student with first language Spanish do I still need to take 12 credits in Spanish? If you're going to utilize Spanish as your language of study, potentially you can do that. We have some heritage courses in Spanish, so you would take like maybe just one credit. However, we probably encourage you to look at learning a different language as well. So, and that gives you some more options for study abroad. If you already speak Spanish and want to go to a Spanish-speaking country, you can, but you could also study another language and then have that opportunity for other places for study abroad. So that could be interesting. How do we find out courses that are available at the university? Catherine, do you remember how you did that?
You know, it's been a while. Courses available at the university abroad, is that the question?
Yeah.
I mean, there will be orientations prior to study abroad that will go in depth about what's available. I know it depends on your major, and it depends on your comfort with the language. And within each major, some of them, at least in Spain, some of them are taught as bilingual majors. So half the courses are in English, half the courses are in Spanish, and then some of them are 100% in Spanish, and then some of them are 100% in English. So depending on your major that you're going into, that will affect the classes that you want to take and the classes that will transfer back. What I ended up doing is I took all of my technical electives abroad because they were really easy to transfer, and they were the less difficult of classes to be taking. So I knew that if there was going to be, you know, it's a new country, it's a new system, it's a new university. I didn't want to be taking the hardest possible upper level mechanical engineering classes I could find, right? So I was taking the slightly easier, however you want to describe them, technical electives that were more of the interest level rather than like that high level of difficulty. But I know everybody did something differently, so it really depends on what you're comfortable with and what you want to do. But I would just recommend when you get close, just speaking to your advisor, to make sure that the classes that you want to take transfer and that they kind of fit the study abroad experience that you want.
Yeah, and in general, too, the academic advisors in your discipline should have some information about courses and course transferability. Some have better information than others, so I can tell you, like mechanical engineering, for example, is very organized with the course transfers. Where Taka was in aeronautical engineering, maybe not as easy with course transfer information, so it really kind of varies. Dependent on these things. Any tips for applying into the GEARE program? Taka, do you have a tip? How did you get in?
It's been a while, Joe. Oh my days. Yeah, I think I just wrote I think I spoke to Joe before applying. I'm not saying, you know, go speak to Joe, because then I know there's a lot more people these days. But I would recommend speaking to someone in GEARE to get a better understanding of your fit, as well as whether you really want to do it. And then once you've confirmed that, show that you're being proactive in the application, you know, kind of have a vague direction of where you want to go and what you want to do by joining GEARE, what you want to get out of it. So yeah, I would make those points very clear on your application, and also include, you know, who you talk to. I think that will definitely help strengthen your application. So yeah.
Yeah, and I say just in your essay, just be kind of clear about what you hope to get out of the program and how you think that this applies to your future. We want to see, as I said, students who are committed to the program. Is there a list of companies by countries that we have the ability to intern with? And can we find our own company even if it's not included on the Purdue list? Yes, of course you can find your own company, and we appreciate when students do find their own companies, because then we try to utilize that and make partnerships with those companies, especially if you find one that's overseas that's hiring our students. We've had a lot of good luck with the GEARE students are generally as I said, pretty high achieving students, and companies have very good experiences with them. And then because we have their employers do employer evaluations, we know which companies enjoyed our students, and I go back to them and see if we can keep getting students connected with them. So that's a good way for us to build the program. As far as having a list of companies, yes, I am keeping a running list of this. I'm not going to publish the list though, because I don't want other universities seeing who we work with. Once you're in the program, I do provide lists of students of target companies for whom have hired our students in the past. So you would be able to see that.
Can I add one more thing?
Yeah.
I would say, you guys can be the trailblazers here and, start making those connections, establishing those partnerships for GEARE and, leave an impact, because, Joe will come after you. I was, when I was in the UK, doing my internship at Airbus, he flew to Europe and stopped by, and I managed to connect him with the recruiting department in the UK, and they managed to have a conversation. So it's also up to you guys to take the initiative and sort of help GEARE establish those connections so that we can expand as a program moving forward.
Yeah. I'm waiting for Taka to get with his next company so I can figure that out. And Catherine called me earlier this week, and we're setting up some times for HP to recruit our students. And just one other guy just got he got a job with Nintendo Germany, and I'm talking with Nintendo in a couple of weeks. So it is a great network to keep expanding opportunities. If I did a 3-session co-op in the US, study abroad term during the summer, would that count towards the internship requirements? So like, you can incorporate 3-session co-op into our program. And we actually have companies who want to hire students in the GEARE program like that. So they might want to hire a student first to do a rotation in the US, and then a second rotation abroad, and then a third rotation back in the US. So we have organized 3-session co-op programs with certain companies, and we could get you connected with those, and we could connect that together. Sometimes students are involved in co-op, and maybe their company can't send them abroad, and we can either get a release on one of the co-op rotations to allow that student a different opportunity overseas, or if you're doing 3-session, you might actually have another opportunity for a different opportunity overseas, so you can do that. In general, in terms of the study abroad in the GEARE program, well, we're making a lot of adjustments right now during COVID, but soon this will be over for your class. It shouldn't be something that we're too concerned about. So we would go back to the old requirements, which would require at least a full semester of study abroad. You can do short-term study abroads, but that doesn't meet the study abroad requirement within GEARE. What would happen if I satisfy all the requirements to study abroad but no program or partner institution is available? We will help you find something that works out. You may have to be somewhat flexible. Maybe your first option or your first choice wasn't exactly where you wanted to go, but we can help you find study abroad destinations that will work out for you. Have some other, okay. So I think that is the majority of the questions. Does anyone else want to ask a question? You can feel free to unmute yourself if you want. Taka, Catherine, you have other things you want to share? I know Taka has oh, go ahead, Catherine.
I was just going to say, maybe one of my biggest regrets that you guys can learn from the GEARE program was I was I studied abroad in Madrid, which I'm not saying don't study abroad in Madrid. It was a great experience. I loved the city. It's a great program. The only downside to that was that there are a lot of Purdue students who study abroad in Madrid at the same time. So there was a large group of Purdue students, and it was a lot of fun, but it was more along the lines of your like classic American study abroad experience rather than like cultural immersion and learning experience for me. So I was lucky because I was able to go to Barcelona and still get that. But I would recommend that if language development is something that's really important to you, living with people who speak Spanish will be the best way to go. Because I lived with other Purdue students, and it kept me in a little Purdue box, kept me in a little English-speaking bubble, which, you know, is not ultimately what I, at least looking back now, I wish that I had done something differently. So I guess kind of like what Taka was saying is just knowing what you want out of the program when you're applying and just keep coming back to that and just really figuring out what it is that you want out of the program, what it is that you want out of your education, and just making sure that you take the steps to make that happen.
Yeah, and for Spanish language too, since Catherine has studied abroad, we have a new partner in Valencia where we have fewer Purdue students go to that destination and really attractive place.
Valencia is such a cool city.
Yeah. Yeah. And then of course, Latin America too, Mexico, Colombia, Ecuador, which are all places where people are extremely friendly, and you'll have like friends on day one there who will take you to their families and things like this. So there's a lot of good options for Spanish. Taka, you have one more thing you want to share?
Yeah, I would say just in general, Catherine and I have gone through the whole Purdue/GEARE experience, and what I would personally encourage you guys to do, whether you join GEARE or not, is to use your time wisely, I would say. The 4 years in college, it's gonna fly by. And I say this now because I can say this now because when I was a freshman, I thought, you know, 4 years is quite some time. I can figure my life out and everything. You don't have to, you know, necessarily figure a life out. I haven't. I don't know what I'm gonna do, what I want to do, but those 4 years will go by very quickly. So whatever you do, whether that's making as many friends as you can, or, you know, trying to get that amazing grade that you want, set some goals and be clear on what you want out of the whole Purdue experience, because again, the 4 or 5 years is going to whiz by. So that's the last thing I would want to share from my side.
And Taka, you also have some guides, YouTube channels out there to help first-year students, right?
Yeah, the YouTube channel is kind of dead right now. My mouse pad is broken, so I can't edit videos, but I do have a blog where I talk about career exploration and soft skills and some life lessons that I've learned, even though I've only lived for 23 years. I think some of the things you guys will probably find useful, because the stuff I write are mostly things that I wish I had known when I was a freshman. And the second thing would be I made a resume guide, pretty comprehensive resume guide. This was made like with collaboration from a lot of the GEARE students that I coached personally with their resumes. And so it's about like a 14-page document. It goes through step by step how you can take your resume to the next level to get that interviews for you guys. So if you're interested, yeah, maybe Joe, if you don't mind, I can pop the link in the comments.
Yeah, awesome.
Great.
Awesome. So I think we'll stick around in case anybody has other questions they want to ask for a few minutes, but it's 6:30, and I want to thank everybody for joining us. We hope that you'll join the program. We'll actually have another info session later this semester, and then we have our official call out in January for those who finish the semester with a 3.0 GPA or higher. So look forward to talking to many of you later on.
Joe, are you guys still doing in-person classes or?
It's a hybrid of things. So technically, yes, but I think a lot of students end up having classes online, either synchronously online or fully online, or they have a mixture of both. So I know that we're teaching some of our GEARE courses still in person, where we have people showing up. But yeah, there's a lot of mixture of online and in person.
Gotcha.